Dear participants, good afternoon. Welcome. It's great to have you in our Knowledge Café. Summer weather is finally here, even here in Belgium, surprisingly. And what better way to celebrate than to gather for our Summer Knowledge Café. My name is Renaud Schoer. I'm the head of Knowledge and Innovation at EASPD. For those joining us for the first time, EASPD is the European Association of Service Providers for Persons with Disabilities. Together with the more than 20,000 social services that we represent, we promote quality services and equal opportunities for people with disabilities. Today, our co-host is CEV, the Center for European Volunteering, which is very appropriate since volunteering is the topic of this cafe. If we can move on to the next slide, please. Yes, as you can see, we will discuss a few of the key dimensions linked to volunteering, starting with the role that volunteering can play for our sector, but also for a more cohesive society at large. We'll also discuss how we can structure volunteering so that it ends up being an enriching experience for all the parties involved. But before we start, we just wanted to share a few technical points on the next slide. Thank you. As you can see, the event is being recorded. You will be able to find the recording on the EASPD YouTube channel after the event. Captioning is available. You can enable the live captioning feature by clicking on More at the bottom of your screen. And then finally, we are in webinar mode, meaning that if you want to interact with the speakers, if you want to share your questions, your comments, we ask you to use the chat. Thank you all. Looking forward to a great event. I now turn to our moderator, Gabriela Civico from CEV. Gabriela, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Renaud, and thank you very much for the opportunity for CEV to partner with the EASPD on this Knowledge Cafe, looking at volunteering. We, of course, are a European network. My colleague Julia will speak later and tell you more about that, focusing on all aspects of volunteering. And of course, volunteering to support people with disabilities is a huge part of that across Europe. I'm delighted that we have so many knowledgeable speakers with us today. They're each going to make an individual presentation, and then we're going to have time at the end also for some questions and answers, but you can also put them in the chat as we go along, and I will try to keep my eye on them, and then we can also take them spontaneously as we go. So don't be shy to put your questions or your comments, reactions in the chat. So without further ado, I would like to pass the floor to Mirko Schwarzel, who is an old friend of CEV. He was a delegate from BBE for a long time and was also on our board, and is now working at Diakonie Deutschland. Mirko, over to you.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Gabriela. And thank you very, very much for EASPD and CEV for inviting me and giving me the opportunity to share some ideas on the importance of volunteering and the link to civic engagement. Gabriela said I was active with CEV, started in the European Year of Volunteering 2011, which I think was a great catalyst for bringing organizations together and really thinking strategically, politically about volunteering and how to support volunteering, and especially the link to active citizenship. I think that was the title of the year, volunteering and active citizenship. I work for an organization, and I start by introducing a bit the organization I work for, Diakonie. And I will speak from the perspective of my organization, but I hope I can make sure and transport that this is a general view on how important volunteering is for a civil society organization delivering social services and for society in general. So my organization, Diakonie, is a social welfare organization in Germany, run by the German Protestant churches. And it's not only a German organization, but diaconical structures are existing in many countries. Predominantly, of course, in countries where the Protestant Church is has a certain size and history. We have a European network, Eurodiaconia, bringing together some 30 diaconical organizations from 30 different European countries. So we come from a Christian understanding of dignity and uniqueness of every human being, and that's where we have our engagement from. This year we celebrate our 175th anniversary. So you see, it's an organization that has quite some history, and a history even dating back more into even the mid ages, when we had the first foundations, church-bound foundations and care services. And well, what we strive for, I work for the headquarters, so for the national associations. I don't work within the services or the service provision, is of course to foster and improve legal economical framework for social services, but also for volunteering. Next slide, please. So just to give you a bit of an overview of this organization. So we run more than 30,000 care centers of all kinds of all over Germany. This means that we provide direct services for about 1 million people in the centers. Part of this is 170,000 places for persons with disabilities in care services. And we employ about 600,000 people full or part-time. So this makes us the 3rd biggest employer in Germany. So you see that it's quite some areas that we cover, and we engage about 700,000 volunteers in our centers and in our work. And this is, so to say, the centers. And above this, we're also a couple of self-help groups that have more community outreach and go for an outreach social work. Next slide, please. So I said about 7,000 volunteers that work for engaged in our organization, and this is 2 parts I'd like to share with you from our volunteering, from our manifesto on volunteering, and maybe highlight some important points, which is not only important, I think, for Diakonie, but important for every civil society organization and important for society. So without volunteering, there's no Diakonie. You can replace Diakonie with there's no civil society organization. There's not even a society, I would say, without volunteering. Volunteers are doing all kinds of services in our organization, as they do in society. And what is important for us, and I think what is becoming more and more important, is that when you talk about volunteerings and how to find and include volunteers, that you have to think inclusively, that the volunteer services are not just for people, or for certain target groups, but you really have to be open and inclusive to involve everybody into volunteering. Volunteering is an act that can make you stronger, anybody stronger, and we need to invest more in really being inclusive, have an inclusive volunteering infrastructure for everybody. The second point is that you need a certain framework, and this is a political framework as well as the framework in your organization to support volunteering. And we try to handle and to deliver both. We work towards the political level to improve the general framework conditions. We work for volunteer strategies on the political level. We work for cooperation with governments to set a good framework, a political framework, a financial framework of recognition and value volunteering. And I think on the political agenda, we have the same ideas and aims as CEV does. So I think Julia will speak a bit more about this a bit later. But it's also important that within your organization, to understand that volunteers also need a professional support in your organization, that it's very important to include a volunteer management, that you yourself build up or work together with volunteer infrastructures like volunteer centers to improve the quality of volunteering, and to really give volunteers a good environment to learn. Next slide, please. And this is basically, I want to close with this volunteering and civic engagement. We started with this question, what is what, and what actually is the core idea of volunteering when I speak about civic engagement. And I'd really very shortly like to tell you a personal story. When I started for Diakonie, I have never worked in social services before. I have never had an insight into social services. So I thought, when I'm working on the advocacy level, on the political level of the organization, and I thought I should be doing also some volunteering. And I started for one of our branches, which is the Bahnhofsmission. It's it's a mission at the train stations. It's a long history, and was originally founded to support travelers that are stranded or that need support at the train stations in any form. And for me, I work at the central station in Berlin. I don't know if you have ever been to this station, but it's very modern. It's about 12, 15 years old. And from my perspective, I thought it was barrier-free. It is modern. It has all kinds of opportunities for everybody to move freely. But working there and seeing that it's so difficult to change platforms, to even get off trains, and to find your way around the train station, and how much support many people need, and the infrastructure is not even there, was an eye-opener for me, to also think that this is not how it should stay. And so through my volunteering, I thought, okay, we have to take some actions just to improve this infrastructure at this train station. So what I want to say is that for me, this is the point, that you volunteer, you take action, and you change a situation, but you understand a general problem, a problem in society, or a very concrete problem of infrastructure, and you also engage. Above your volunteering, you engage politically to change or to raise awareness of this situation. And I think this is very important, that volunteering is, you make a change by action, but you also want to make a political change, or you want things to change in form of infrastructure or environment also. And this is the link, I think, for me. And then when it comes to making strategies for volunteering, to make strategies for a good framework of volunteering, I think you always have to think of these two dimensions. It is the action of volunteering at one place in one situation, but it's always tackling a bigger social problem, political problem, and volunteers also want to address this, and they can. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mirko. Thank you very much. And you mentioned before that we worked together in the European Year of Volunteering 2011. And as a follow-up to what you were just sharing there, we were advocating in 2011, and of course before, for a coherent, comprehensive volunteering policy at the EU level. We're still not there. In many ways, Germany is leading the way with your engagement policies and strategies around engagement there in Germany. I don't know if you're aware of that, if you're very involved in that. Maybe you could share something about how that move towards a comprehensive engagement strategy in Germany, and how you would maybe even translate that into English. We're still struggling to really get the right words, but how is that move towards a comprehensive engagement strategy helping organizations like Diakonie, or in fact not? Is it helping at all? And then complementary to that, how do you think that the European Year of Volunteers, which we hope to have in 2025, will also help in this improvements in this direction?
Yeah, thank you very much. I'd like to start in 2011, just to give, a short remembering what actually was achieved and what was not achieved. And maybe start even a bit before that. In 2001 was the International Year of Volunteering, the United Nations year. And I think that was the first time that, in many countries, organizations that worked with volunteers the first time got together and shared knowledge, but also came up with recommendations, and that was repeated then 10 years later in 2011 on a European level. And I was really amazed by the coalitions that we were able to form, organizations we could bring together, the dynamics we had when we worked on our policy, understanding of what a volunteering policy should look like. We had this document PAVE, the policy agenda for volunteering in Europe, and that had a spillover also to Germany. You said we are forerunners. I don't know. I would question that. But in 2011, we had a first approach with the German government to come up with a national volunteer strategy. It was a consultation process with associations, and it was a very much top-down government-driven strategy, so not very successful. And I think we learned from this. Now, at the moment, as you said, we are working on a new national volunteering strategy, and we're now in the process of first collecting voices, interests, ideas. And this is a very open digital format. Everybody can participate, but also organizations can hand in their expertise. And before we actually come to what we want to put in the strategy, it's now an open process for collecting voices, so to say. And I think this approach is more a bottom-up approach. So we're really optimistic that this can have a broader foundation. Now, German terminology is difficult, as you said. We have a word for volunteering, but indeed we speak about engagement, which means exactly that it is volunteering in the idea of social political change. So it is rather a concept that combines this volunteering and active citizenship in one term, so to say. So of course there's no political engagement volunteering, but we always see the political context with it, and the context of being a change maker, leading also to political change or to reforms in a problem that you tackle. So our strategy is not just, let's say, a volunteering strategy in a form, what can you do for volunteers, recognition, what framework they need, but it's more a kind of strategy of reforming democracy through volunteering as an expression of an active civil society. It's more a civil society strategy, so to say. And I think this is also what I think would be needed on the European level, to really to understand that volunteering is a form of an active civil society, and that a strategy needs to have different aspects, including an understanding of civil society, and understanding what civil society needs, and an understanding what also participation is, to actually be able to transform the experience of volunteers into political decision making. And it sounds complex, but I think that would also involve more organizations in this debate, because civil society is volunteering.
Great. Thank you, Mirko. And for participants, and I guess also speakers as well, don't forget that there's the Q&A feature there. So if something has resonated with you or you have an additional follow-up question, please put it there and we can discuss. So from this theoretical, let's say, overarching framework that Mirko has put there for us, we're going to go now a bit more to the practice level, to the practical level, and hear from Thanos Lules, who is a project manager with EASPD NGO. Over to you, Thanos.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you for the invitation for this Knowledge Café. I hope that our practice and our ways will be useful for you. So let's not waste any more time. We in EASPD believe that volunteering is an act of selfless giving and a growing movement. As already mentioned, I'm Thanos Lules, and I'm a project manager for the EASPD NGO. The next slide, please. But let's speak a little bit of EASPD. Who are we and what we do? EASPD is active in the field of social inclusion, mental health, and education from 2005. We have right now 3 boarding houses, 2 shelter apartments, 3 day centers and 1 integrated community therapy service that will provide assistance for people with mental health problems for the past at least 17 years right now. And of course, we cannot leave behind the significant importance of the volunteers. Volunteers, they are the backbone of the organizations. And as already mentioned, civil society organizations cannot work without volunteers. So it's we try to create meaningful change in our communities through volunteerism. We are proud to have over 2,000 registered volunteers right now, with 50 of them to be actively participating in our weekly actions. And of course, their commitment, their involvement bring positive outcomes for them, both the volunteers and the beneficiaries of organizations. And this is how it goes. And next slide, please. So the holistic approach to volunteer training of EASPD. First of all, when I say holistic, because it's a win-win, let's say win-win situation, because we train the volunteers, but at the same time, they get trained for something in their interest and this is actually in favor of our beneficiaries. But let's go one step at a time. Familiarization with work and activities. Of course, during the initial stage, during the intake, volunteers becomes acquainted with various projects, European projects, frameworks and methodologies, initiatives that are undertaken by EASPD. And of course, they gain the understanding of the values and the impact that we aim to create as an organization in our communities. The second step is the participation in an experiential, and I mean that in an experiential psychoeducational workshops. They become engaged in a series of workshops that covers a range of topics, actually very big range of these topics, which are communication, empathy, active listening, cultural sensitivity, and of course, problem solving. Don't forget that these people are actually helping in healthcare facilities. And of course, through the experiential learning, the volunteers develop practical abilities to enhance their understanding of societal issues, and of course, to build their own potential. And the step number 3 is to visit our social structures and, of course, job shadowing. These visits allow them to witness and, of course, assist other volunteers, but at the same time, the staff members of these facilities, to interact also with the beneficiaries themselves and people with disabilities in general, and deepen their understanding of the communities that we are serving in EASPD. Next slide, please. Can we move to the next slide? Thank you. We believe that, no, one slide before, please. That one. We believe that a great success actually that we are dealing in EASPD is that we bring together the academic education and the connection with the labor market, which at the same time we're empowering the future health professionals. EASPD is a certified provider of training as a vet center, and that way we create a bridge between the academic education, in which we are collaborating with major universities in Greece, specifically in Athens, as well as recognized colleges and the workplace. So internships, opportunities for humanities students like social workers and psychologists, they have the opportunity to work with us. Development of soft and hard skills for smooth integration, assist students in choosing suitable career paths, exposure to research, technology, innovation, and entrepreneurship through the R&D department and the European projects, train health professionals to transfer this philosophy and the know-how to other, of course, volunteers and peers, prepare for future working environments, and of course, the provision of tools for success in the healthcare sector. But here we'll go a little bit more practical. In EASIS, we have a network, as we say, let's say, network of Connect Your City youth centers. There are 4 in Athens right now, 1 in Cyprus, and 1 in Brussels. We named it Connect Your City. Through Connect Your City, our volunteers have active participation in planning, organizing, and implementing activities, which are based in 5 main pillars, which gamification, sports for all, culture, job club, and of course, active citizenship. Some examples of these activities are workshops, some street events, festivals, of course, on mental health and disability in general, diversity, environment, and more. Contribution on material goods to vulnerable clothing, to vulnerable groups, like foods or clothing, and of course, aid in emergency natural disasters like wildfires and floods, as it was actually in Greece the last year. One more. Next slide, please. But let's go digital, as we say in this slide. During the COVID period and the lockdown, at least from the whole of Europe, we thought to create an application, which is the Connect Your City app. With this application, players/volunteers, I would say here, can complete educational activities. And upon completion of these activities, they can earn points that are redeemable for gifts and privileges from the civil society organizations, from EASIS actually, but from other organizations that are part in this application as well. During this period, because we needed and we wanted to keep active our volunteers, and because we knew how difficult the lockdown was, we also organized a festival, Connect Your City, Connected with Start, digital festival. All this was online, and through the application, more than 7,500 members were registered, and more than 5,000 activities were implemented. We have reached more than 500,000 activities. Next slide, please. As we still believe, and I do believe as well, volunteering is a great way to give back to your community, meet new people, or just have fun. Just let's not forget that volunteering must be fun, and this is something that we try to do in EASIS. We try to give to the community, but at the same time to have fun. Next slide, some more information about us. That okay, we are located in Athens, and we have also Connect Brussels, which is the youth center located in Brussels. And I think that at this point we can see a 1-minute video with application, actually to present the application.
Do you see this place? What if I told you that you could make it much better with an application that turns volunteering into fun? Connect Your City application connects young people with youth organizations that offer volunteering, educational, and leisure activities. Young people complete challenges and earn points which can be exchanged for various benefits from the organization and gifts from the sponsors. But what makes Connect Your City app so special? Is it the big variety of challenges? The interactive map that shows challenges near your neighborhood? The local and international leaderboard of the top players? Or maybe the interactive user profile which can be seen by other players? What truly makes the CYC app special is the playful way that connects young people with civic engagement. complete challenges, earn points and take your skills and society a step forward with CYC app.
I hope you liked it.
Thank you, Thanos, for the presentation and for the video. There's a question from Omar in the chat, so maybe we will take that later. But I wondered if you could just describe a little bit more, Thanos, about, you mentioned that your organization is a certified provider of training. Can you give briefly just a bit of background how that happened, who gave you the certification? And also, does that mean that the main motivation of the volunteers is training, certification, or what does this tell you about the motivation of the volunteers?
Let's start first of all that we're certified training center actually from the beginning of from EASPD, so from 2005, and we are certified from the Ministry of Education, to be honest. So it was like that from the beginning for EASPD. But as you said, certification often serves as an indication that an organization's commitment to quality and expertise in providing training services. It is a motivational factor, I would say, especially for the people, especially for volunteers that are working in the healthcare sector and the interns. But let's not forget that we have to combine at least the fun factor as well. Regarding this, the fun actually is the motivation for the volunteers. I mean, while personal development training opportunities can be significant in attracting volunteers, at the same time, we consider important to ensure that to have a nice, big mix match, as we say here in Greece, that covers the needs and the well-being of service users, which is actually the top priority. I mean, during the intake, we have interviews with them, we have their CVs, their interests, so we mix and match what they want and we place them to the right position. But this is not only, because there are more strategies, like we have to have clear mission and values, volunteer training orientation, as already mentioned, regular communication and feedback from them, of course, supervision and support for anyone that needs it, and regular evaluation. I mean, and impact assessment. If we don't have this, if we don't ask them, if we don't get the feedback back, we cannot go forward and we cannot make our services better. I hope it was clear.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you very much, Thanos. Now we're going to hear from our next speaker, who's actually going to continue a bit this theme. Nora Gorki, who works at EASPD, is going to share. You're going to share, Nora, your experiences of being a volunteer, being an employee, how these two things link together, how one thing led to the other, or maybe it's a circular thing. So you can share with us now your experience and reflections on this journey from volunteer to employee.
Thank you so much. I hope you can hear me. Hi, everyone. I'm Nora Györke, and indeed I'm working at EASPD as a project officer since January 2022. Now I'm here to share with you why volunteer experiences that technically led me to be here in this position now. We can move on the first picture. I will share you some pictures about this journey. So this path started in 2008 with the rehearsal of the Hungarian Never Give Up band, whom I joined as a dancer. This band is an inclusive band with the singers with disabilities. There are some people with visual impairments, physical disabilities, intellectual disabilities, and these bands belong to a foundation, to the Hungarian Never Give Up Foundation, where I spent 11 years as a volunteer and 2 years as an employee. The reason why I became volunteer and why I ended up and engaged to the social field, it clearly was that rehearsal that I have this first experience because the way that the singers were present on that rehearsal and gave their best to their performances was very, very inspiring for me. And that moment I decided that I would like to get to know them better. I would like to cooperate with them even after the charity concerts we were preparing for. As you can see, the concerts were quite successful, and I really enjoyed the whole rehearsal process with this group. So after the concert, the president of the foundation asked me to form a dance group which can regularly participate in this dance concert. And I gladly said yes. And since this moment, I became an official volunteer of the foundation. And as this organization has many other programs, beside these artistic activities, I had the chance to be involved step by step in many programs and gain knowledge, skills, and many competencies that have contributed not only to my personal development, but also to my professional career. We can move on. I had the opportunity to organize, for example, awareness raising programs on disabilities, where people can get to know the different type of life situation of persons with disabilities. We can move. I had chance to work together with the people with disabilities, get to know better the disability field. We can move. I could organize inclusive camps for 200, 300 people, including children in deep poverty, people with and without disabilities, students, adults. And I also had the chance to organize other charity concerts for more than 10,000 participants, and I could be part of more of the organizational aspect of the foundation. I also had the chance to organize programs for children with deep poverty. We could organize them games, any other camps as well. And I could also contribute to writing small proposals, implementing national smaller projects. And I had the chance creating inclusive art performances, as you can see here, with people with and without disabilities. So overall, I can say that the volunteering has become a passion for me, as I have gained many experiences that have enriched my life, in addition to those mentioned before. So, for example, I could travel to many places with the foundation and with the band. I could go to many cities in Hungary to participate in many festivals. I could go to study visit for 3 weeks to the USA. I could go to China, Germany, Slovakia, Poland, Romania, Liechtenstein. And I also had the opportunity, for example, to have a performance at the European Parliament in 2018 at a Hungarian disability event. In addition, I received lots of love and many joyful moments, and we had lots of fun with the members of the foundation. And I could really belong to a great community, which gave me many beautiful moments in my life. So, as I mentioned in the beginning of my presentation, my voluntary activities contributed greatly to my professional careers. Even though I did not study in the social field, I owe my jobs then and now to these experiences. So thanks to all the knowledge, skills, and expertise I could gain on the job or doing these activities during this year in the foundation, I could find finally jobs in the social field. So before I moved to Brussels, I became an official employee of the Never Give Up Foundation, and I was the communication manager of the organization for 2 years. And it was a good chance because I really knew all of the part of the organization, all of the programs. So I could fit this position. But before this official job at the organization, I also had the chance to work to another Hungarian umbrella organization, the Hungarian ETA National Association, whose work mainly for people with intellectual disabilities. And I was a project manager there. I could do similar activities that I did as a volunteer in the past, and I was responsible for the international relations cooperation. And that's why I can thank my job here now at EASPD, because I could have a chance to attend many conferences at EASPD, and I could get to know more their activities. So so it was really good in my life to be able to gain these experiences by accidentally by doing my volunteer activity. And if we can go back one slide, so I just wanted to highlight. If we can go, yes, thank you so much. So I just wanted to highlight some elements and aspects that why I recommend volunteering to everyone, because as you can see, you can learn many things by doing different kind of activities. And beside it, you can have lots of fun, you can have many joyful moments, you can belong to a community. And these different kind of activities that you can do during your volunteer activity can really contribute to your everyday life, to your everyday work. And for me, what was really important, that I could do meaningful activities, I could do good for others, but beside it, I received many good things and good moments from others. So maybe I could say that I earn more that I could give to this community. And if we can going to the last slide, why I recommend organization to host volunteers. At first, it's important that you can have external expertise from trainees or volunteers for your different type of activities. So for example, like administrational tasks or communication activities or any other organizational activities, you can have volunteers that can help you to organize your daily activities. You can have new perspective and knowledge from these external people, and you can have your volunteer or your trainee can be your future employee in the future. And I think it's a really important aspect as well, that you can build your network as well, because if you have more volunteer, they can spread the news, they can bring more volunteer, and your community can grow by hosting more and more volunteers. So thank you so much. That was my story. And if you have any question, do not hesitate to ask.
Thank you, Nora. Thank you very much for sharing this. And just a small follow-up question for you, because with this volunteering experience in the organization, there were volunteers, there were staff members. How was the relationship between the two? How was that managed? Were there some conflicts? Was there some confusion about what's a volunteer, what's a staff member? Just shortly, if you can say a few words about how that was dealt with, and what were the challenges, and maybe what were the keys to success, if there were some.
Yes, so I can say that with the foundation, I think it was a unique way, but mainly it's true for many organizations. It was a small community in the beginning where many enthusiastic people came together and wanted to do something good. So it started with this small band, and after that it grew finally a big organization now with more than 200 employees, and 80% of the employees are persons with disabilities. So at the beginning it was quite natural. People came together and did together something with everyone, with their friends, with people with disabilities. And as the organization grew, there we created after a person who was dedicated for organizing the volunteer activities, who build up a strategy how we can welcome the new volunteers. So now there is a small group who is responsible for welcoming the volunteers, and there are the staff member who doing the daily task. And if the staff members need some volunteers, can connect the responsible person who's organizing the volunteers. But I think the most challenging was the growing situation, that from from a small family, it became a bigger organization, and after that they needed to organize now differently the staff members and volunteerings, but it was the same learning by doing, and now it's going quite well.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Nora, for that additional information. For our next speaker, we go now to my colleague, Julia, who's going to say a bit about what we have been doing at CEV, looking at this overall question of how volunteers can and do provide support for people with disabilities and people in need across Europe. So Julia, over to you.
Thank you very much, Gabriella, and thank you for also EASPD to organize this event in collaboration. It's like a very good opportunity to further discuss aspects of volunteering that somehow are remaining a bit hidden. So today I'm gonna present, and if we can go with the slides, yes, the relationship between volunteering and the welfare and social services. I will give you a short historical background, and I will present you a work that we have been doing together with our members, where we explore during the occasion of an event, all the relationship between volunteering and welfare and social services, and actually what we would like to see to be improved and to be implemented. Of course, it's I will present you at the end the title of these materials that I'm presenting to you today, and I will share with you the links as well for you to read. They are a bit, not all, but I'll say not that recent, but we are working now in trying to update them and try to revise them. So after the presentation, if you feel like sharing something, if you like to provide us also additional materials that come from your personal experience and your experience in the field, we will very much welcome any kind of feedback or additional support you can provide us. So very, very shortly about CEV, we are no, previous slide still. We are the Center for European Volunteering. We are being created in 1992, so it's quite a long time now. And we are composed, we are a network organization, so we are composed by over 60 organizations that are dealing with volunteering at national, local and regional level. We also work in relationship with European institutions, both at EU level, but also at Europe level with the Council of Europe, and as well with international organizations and also institutions. So it's very, very short, but if you would like to know more at the end of the slides, there will be a final slide with all the details in order to follow us and keep up the relationships. Okay, we can go to the next one. To the next slide. Yeah, thank you. So as I said, I will give you a short historical background on this. We decided to divide the historical perspective on before 2007 and after 2007, because the economic crisis happened in Europe and changes occurred as well in the welfare and social servicing providing. So we saw through time that services that were before actually covered up by families and community level were gradually taken over by the state. So this is like a process that happened quite at the beginning of times, and there was overall a tendency of the state to do that thanks to a system that was implemented. So the whole overall idea was for the state to be able to provide those services, but also following a certain system that could actually support the state in a way that probably families and community were thought to not be able to support. This system was considering the fact that more or less every component of the society could provide a resource of funding to the state through taxation, for example, and this continuous resource that was coming into the government was able to actually support the state in providing these services. This was also a general mindset of considering the human beings as always available, be able to continue with their employment, and be in need of the welfare and social services only in certain period of times when needed. So this was somehow the overall mindset that was supporting, let's say, the state in their implementation of these services and the provision of these services. So before 2007 and just before the economic crisis, towards the economic crisis, we could divide the European countries into an approach into three different groups that could define their approaches to this system, to the delivery of this system, of the services, between the well-established states welfare services, newly established welfare systems, and emerging welfare systems. We can go to the next slide. But of course, this system was somehow not fully efficient when we are dealing with an economic crisis, but in general, considering the changes that were happening in the society. Here, we were not dealing anymore with 2007 with an economic crisis, so an increase of unemployment, but also with an increase of the overall life lifespan of the components of the society. So with an increased lifespan that we have available, of course, the number of vulnerable people were increasing as well. The economic crisis, of course, not only underlined a failure in the system that I explained before, so to the fact that human beings were able, with unemployment, to provide funding to the state. So they were unemployed now, the majority of them, they were not able to provide that funding, but at the same time, they were becoming also vulnerable people. So they were in need of support from the state. So the whole system started to have issues. And here we can see actually something that probably was somehow kept hidden from the general overview when analyzing the situation, that no state actors that were already there available, providing and supporting society in delivering welfare and social services were now still providing them and be able to support the community through that. And they were able to do that without getting the funding from the taxation. So this came up pretty much clear during the crisis, being non-state actors, the actors that were still available and there constantly supporting the population. Especially civil society organizations were able to do that, thanks also to expertise of the volunteers, being also a component of their organization. They were able somehow to know better how to provide the services. They were in contact with the people in need. They were in contact with those that were asking for the developing of and implementation of the services, or they were themselves those that were looking for that. So they were the ones actually giving the expertise to civil society organization, and therefore civil society organization were the ones able to respond and to keep up in a constant work the provision of services. They were doing that sometimes in a parallel way, sometimes alongside the state. So there were situations where actually already at that time the state was leaving the civil organization the space to provide that service. But of course, the situation increased in a negative way even more because with the austerity measure, the state started to understand that couldn't keep up, let's say, the good work in providing the services, and was looking for other ways that were more cost effective in order to do so. So of course, volunteering came up as a possible solution, being a way for the community to, let's say, how to respond to the needs and to the issues, but at the same time, having the expertise there, having the proof that through to the work that civil society organizations have been doing so far, we're actually able to respond to those needs. Next slide.
Julia, if I can just ask you to be aware of the time a bit, because we are running behind.
Yes, I'm trying to rush up.
I know there's lots to say, but we can share the full report with everyone as well.
Yes. So here we come with what we came out with. Overall, there is, of course, a proof that locally it's proven that civil society organizations are actually able to respond to people needs and to provide those services. But of course, there is also a way for the state to somehow leave sometimes the civil society organization on their own to do that. So we can, I will repeat this later, but we can go to the next slide so I'm able to summarize better. Okay, so there is an overall perspective of civil society organization where, yes, they are there, they are consistently delivering the services, they are sometimes better in reaching out target groups, but at the same time, they are seen still as a separate actor, as something that is not totally involved in the overall scheme and system of service providing. But at the same time, for certain civil society organizations, the involvement of volunteer can be a way to cover up whenever they don't manage to keep up the work with their budget. That's why we are actually supporting through also the report you will see if you read it through, that we are actually supporting for a system where civil society organization can be involved, where volunteers can be actively involved, and where there is a conversation ongoing between all the different actors in order to better implement the services. Next slide, please. Yes, so here you will see, you can read that this is actually the last slide, what we try to implement, to achieve. There is still some work to be done. So if you think that we have developed this report in 2014, these recommendations, the majority of them are still quite valid and quite present. So that means that there is still a lot of work to be done, but we are here to do that. But of course, we are trying to make an effort not only to involve more the volunteers in the scheme, but also to consider the fact that those people in need are not the ones in need only. They can be the ones that can be involved in the implementation of these services. They can be the ones to be involved in when to decide and how to decide to implement those services. They are the ones that are, let's say, the voice, the direct voice and the direct actors that can actually make the provision of services more efficient and more targeted. So this is my conclusion. Sorry, I tried to be as fast as I could. We can skip this. I more or less say so. So yes, thank you.
Thank you, Julia. Sorry to rush you, but there's never enough time to discuss these important issues. And the full slides and the video will be available for everyone. And of course, Julia and myself are available to give more information on that perspective of this question of how volunteers are involved in service provision, particularly for people with disabilities, but for vulnerable people generally. Now we will move on to our final speaker, Live, who is going to give another practice example. And perhaps, Live, as you're reflecting and you're sharing your example, if anything that Julia or any of the other speakers have said already resonates with you as well. Have you seen a change in the way that you are needed in the community? Have you seen any change in the way that you are treated by service users? If you want to reflect on that as well as you present your wonderful example. Thank you. And just before you start, Live, anyway, we don't hear you, you are muted, so I take the chance just to remind people that you can put your questions in the chat and in the Q&A, and we will answer them afterwards. So when Liv has finished now with the last presentation, we will come back to review the questions that are in the chat and that are in the Q&A. So thank you, Liv. I think we can hear you now.
Everybody can hear
Yes.
me? Okay, it's okay. Oh, thank you. My name is Lieve de Kempeneer. I'm a director of Hubi, which is a service provider in the Brussels capital region. And I will just present a little bit more first the organization and then move on to the work that we do with volunteering. We support people with disabilities, mainly adults, in living, working, learning and leisure. We also support mainstream services in adapting their services for people with disabilities. And we put a lot of effort in bridging the gap between disabled and non-disabled people and promote inclusion. We think it's very important. And we also do a lot of investing in influencing policy. Thank you. Next slide, please. So I said Brussels capital region. We are situated on 8 locations. We have about 400 users, 140 employees, and 42 active volunteers. Yes, thank you. And I'll just go through the services that we provide. Just to give you an idea, I will go very quick about that, because in all of these services, we have volunteers helping us. So we have, we support people with disabilities in living. And we do that or at their home on an individual base. And that goes from some hours a week. We also have residential care where we provide support 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Yes, thank you. We have all kinds of workshops where people can come and attend and meet each other and learn some things and just do what they like to do. Thank you. Leisure, very important. You see some of the activities that we do, that we organize. I will come back to this later to explain a little bit more. Thank you very much. Learning is a very important one. We learned from our users that once they became adults and with school, there is not much opportunity for them to learn anymore. So we wanted to do something about that, and we are establishing a great learning program in all kinds of ways of learning for them. And it's a big success, I must tell. Yeah, thank you. Supported employment, I don't have to tell any about that. That's where our clients go to other places to do some voluntary work themselves. And then we support people with disability, not only in our service, but also reaching out in schools, in prison, unfortunately, welfare centers, but also working very closely together with family care, home care, universities, cultural organizations. So we are really networking with all kind of organizations in the Brussels Capital Region. For us, volunteering means a great added value, and in many, many ways, and for all the groups that are involved in it. Of course, for the users themselves, because for them it's extra help, and that could be an individual support. That becomes personal relationships. You know, we have a lot of users that have no or a very restricted personal network. And then they ask for, could you find somebody to me that becomes my buddy and where I can go shop with or can do anything with? This is one of the tasks that volunteers can do with us, individual support of our users. Of course, it's also very important for the volunteers. We heard the story of Nora. When you do something to improve society, you get for that much appreciation from that society and from everybody who is involved. And it gives a lot of satisfaction to do so. We hear that from our volunteers every day. It's so nice that we can be part of this group and that we can have the appreciation that we get from you. So that's important. But also, and also that we learned from Nora, the personal growth opportunities. You come in an environment that is not normally yours. You probably do some other job, or you are looking for a job and you want to learn something else. Well, they can learn a lot of things in our organizations, and that's also what we learn from them. Yes, next slide, please. Of course, for the organization itself, it's absolutely an added value. You see, we have like 140 paid staff, and we have 42 volunteers. It's quite a big number for our small organization. It's not the size of the diaconie, of course, but it's a bit about the same idea. We have extra hands, but also extraordinary talent. And what we appreciate, and we heard that also from other speakers, what we like very much as well is the critical external look. They come in our organization, not being part of this social work field, and they have a different mindset and a different way of looking to the work we do. We learn from them a lot to improve our services. We like that very much. And finally, I think, and it's a very important one, it's also important for the society as a whole that we have this voluntary work. For us, it's a lever for inclusion, because it's people that are not connected with the disability sector that come into our work and in our daily lives and that of our users. And this is already starting to bridging the gap that we see every day. So for us, that is also a very important asset of volunteering. Thank you. Yes, thank you. How do we cope with it in our organization? We have about 1.4 staff that is responsible for the volunteering, and they are dealing with recruitment, support, and the sense of belonging. Yes, thank you. Next slide, please. We have in Brussels, no, that's a little bit too quick. The previous one, please. Yeah, thank you. So when it's about recruitment, we have in Brussels, but no, that's okay, thank you. We have in Brussels the Brussels Voluntary Work Support Center that is dealing with matching questions from volunteers and questions from all kinds of organizations looking for volunteers. So there we can work together. We are participating in different platforms as well, live as online, where we can meet possible volunteers and see if there is a match. Of course, we have social media and our website, but often it's our employees and volunteers that are the best and the most enthusiastic ambassadors for the volunteering work in our organization. Next slide, please. What we do is, we heard it already from Thanos as well. We have an intake with possible volunteers where we explain our values, what we do, how we work, and then they have the possibilities to try out all kinds of our services and to see, okay, what would suit me best, what do I like, what are my competences, and where would I fit in the best. And or sorry, or they first do this tryout and make their choice then, or they come in and they know very well what they want to do, and that's what they start to do then as well. It could be, as I said already, individual volunteering with one of our clients, or participate in group activities where they can assist and work together with our employees, or in the workshops. We even have volunteers that have workshops on their own without employees. We also have some volunteers that help us with organizational issues according to their personal skills. Like, for instance, we had a master in communication, and she helped us with our communication plan. So it's really depending on what do they like, what are they able to, or what would we like to learn, to find the match that they really is perfect for them. We have legislation in our country on volunteering, so means we have to sign a contract with our volunteers. They are protected for injuries and all these kind of things. So this is also very important. It's legally, it's well restricted how we have to do it. Next slide, please. Support workers and volunteers are working very closely together. And of course, there's only this small part of staff that is responsible for the whole volunteering work. But when they become part of a team, or yes, mostly of a team, they also are supported by that team in which they work in. So it's really the whole organization that is a little bit helping and supporting the volunteers. They participate in team buildings. When we made our strategic plan 2021-2024, they were involved. I think it's very important. They have training. We have evaluations where we can have some feedback from them. We have an annual dinner. And we spend a lot of attention to our voluntary work in social media and in our Hubby magazine, for instance. So that's about what I wanted to say, I think. Maybe, as Gabriela asked me, for me, it's very important that volunteers stay volunteers, and it's never can be an excuse for a government to replace paid staff by volunteering. It's the duty of a government to take care of vulnerable citizens, and it should be like that all the way. It's just a surplus on the employment thing, I think. That was it for me, I think. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Livia, and also for bringing alive and bringing to us another example where volunteers are supporting people with disabilities in such an important way. We have just about 15 minutes before we'll pass to Nina for the closing. There were two questions in the chat. So one was, well, it was specifically to Thanos, but I think everybody can jump in. Perhaps it was a question from Omar about motivation, how to motivate the volunteers. So we already heard some example of whereby perhaps if volunteers are thinking of working in the sector, maybe the training and the experience is one motivation, but are there other motivations, and how do you practically, in a practical sense, motivate and gather together the volunteers that you need and you want to engage? And the other question was from Kallian. It was specifically to Nora, but again, I think everybody can also share an experience, and Mirko alluded to something about this in the initial presentation that he gave as well, is how does the experience on the ground impact on your advocacy work for the sector? I mean, indeed, do you all get involved in advocacy work? And how is it interconnected, this on-the-ground experience and advocacy? So who would like to go first from the speakers to answer either of those questions, or perhaps if there's something else that you wanted to add because of something that had provoked you that you heard from the other speakers, please let me know. I guess you can raise your hand, or I don't see all the speakers, but maybe Nina or somebody else from the team can also help me. Who would like to go first? Nora, go ahead.
I can answer briefly both questions. So as for the motivation, I think what Live also said is a community activity as well for the volunteers. So when I think the volunteering, organizing volunteers is some kind of a community building as well. Mm-hmm. And I think when people going to be as a volunteer, it's of course it's interesting for them because they can try new activities. But I think the other really important aspect, or I can say on the behalf of me, the community that belong to somewhere. And I think it's really good if you build your community, organize a team building program for the volunteers with the people who they are supporting as well. So I think it could be a really good motivation beside the other elements we heard before, like the trainings, the different kind of activities and so on. And answering Kal's question, that my volunteer experience has a really huge impact on my work now, as I could get to know directly the persons with disabilities. I learned about their needs, what they need in their everyday lives. So now when I'm doing my daily job, I can always think of that time I spent with them, and I have many personal experience, many conversation with them, which can contribute to my work now and to this kind of advocacy work that I'm doing.
Thank you, Nora. Somebody else wants to add about how to motivate, how to reach out to volunteers, how do you engage them, or a bit more about this link between practice and advocacy?
If I could,
go ahead.
If I could actually answer to, even though I wrote it in the chat, but I would like to answer to Omar as well, that at least in our case, we try to engage the volunteers in a fun way, because as you know, if you don't like what you do, or you're not having fun in your workplace, you're not going to do it. I mean, you're going to lose your volunteers and they're going to leave, of course. So in our case, at least, as I already said during the intake, most of them, they would really like to work in the Fabric Republic unit, which is it's a clothing management system that we have in EASIS. We take clothes, we wash them, they contaminate them, we sort them, we package them, we give them freely to organizations. But all this procedure is something that they really like. But it depends exactly on the volunteer himself or herself. I mean, if he is a social worker, they would like to work to the community intervention. If they are psychologists, they would probably want to work to the boarding houses. Now, about the awareness and how to attract these volunteers, usually we use, of course, the Connect Your City app because it is a rewarding system. I mean, a volunteer gives you your time, gives his or her time to you. But for us, we believe that it has to be rewarding for them as well, because besides the intangible gifts, let's say, of trainings and experiences, we think that they have tangible results as well, with some probably educational trips abroad or or free trainings. And to close this, also we organize big festivals, which we call them Connected We Stand. It's actually big festivals organized once per year, even in the capital Athens or in Thessaloniki. which is with live stages, workshops, big other events at the same time, at the parallel, and of course many organizations at the same time having a booth there. I mean, civil society organizations. It's a great networking opportunity, and many volunteers actually want to work with us by getting to know us from these events.
Thank you very much, Lieve.
Maybe I just wanted to add that the co-creative part is also very important. We allow our volunteers to think together with our users and our employees and other stakeholders the way we will build our strategy the next years, but also in the daily management of our organization. They have a voice that we hear, and I think it makes the sense of belonging stronger. So I think it's important that we can listen to them and also value their critical sides and feedback to use it. We hear they appreciate that very much. They are in all kind of teams and meetings involved where these topics are discussed. Yeah.
Great. I think Mirko and maybe Julia, if you want to also add something, and if there's something there from the recommendations from our conference that are important for these topics. And to everyone else, please don't hesitate to put additional questions in the Q&A or in the chat, and we also have time to take them. So go ahead, Mirko.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think when you talk about recruiting or how to win volunteers and how to keep them, it's a big difference if you talk about initiatives or projects, so very concrete and limited in time events, or if you integrate volunteers into your daily work and routine. And in our experience, for the first question, whether there's a certain event that you need volunteers for, where it's really it has a starting point and an end, and people get very active for a limited period of time. This is a very attractive format to gain volunteers. It is more difficult when it is actually a routine kind of weekly assignment. And when it comes to the second part, I very much agree with Lieve on the issue of involving them into planning, into decision making, make this a co-creative atmosphere where they are valued not only as, let's say, a second class co-workers, but really colleagues as volunteers. And this is the part, I think, where it really needs a good volunteer management to also allow them to develop, to have really a personal development plan connected to the volunteering experience, to add certain elements of rewards and recognition. So this is really tricky to keep volunteers for a long time in your organization, reliably for a long time. And a second aspect, I think volunteering, when you start volunteering and when you want to engage somewhere and you see that you can make a change, it really gives you a strong motivation, of course. And we also have a lot of examples where a volunteer is he's doing too much, no? And it can quickly lead to kind of burnout when you do this as a volunteer in a project. So I think it really volunteering for needs structure and needs support mechanisms in the organization.
Absolutely, couldn't agree more with you, Mirko, and with the things that everyone else has said. Somebody else wants to jump in? Julia?
Yes, I will be short because many things have been said that I wanted to reiterate actually. But yes, coming from our recommendation, but also the work we are trying to do, we see more and more often that anyway, in volunteering is the only inclusive 100% place and activity you can do compared to job, for example, and the importance to always distinguish the two things and to be able to make a distinction when also selecting volunteers. And to guarantee that there is an inclusive environment, inclusive approach while welcoming volunteers. And that's also what we are trying to do. Now we have been implementing, we're trying to close by the end of the year also a training that is going to be also analyzed and developed together with people with disability in order to support organizations, in order to make their volunteering experiences and opportunity as much inclusive as possible, in order to include also volunteers with disabilities, and all this is done in the framework where, of course, it's good to have volunteers that are there for service users, but also it's good that those that are getting the advantages of that can also consider the fact of getting themselves involved into volunteering activities and see themselves as a useful part of the society and the community they are living in.
Thank you, Julia. I don't see more questions, but I can also maybe just supplement what has been said about the importance of volunteer management. And we have a number of mainly Erasmus Plus funded projects, so European funded projects that focus on different aspects of volunteering. And one of the things that we are doing with some universities around Europe is to create a master's level module, so part of a master's qualification, a master's level module to certify, to qualify volunteer managers. And this is for two reasons. One is that people want training, they want qualifications, they want to know and understand what good quality volunteer management is, but also to put the volunteer manager on a higher status, let's say, and to give it really official recognition in some countries where even organizations cannot hire a volunteer manager because it doesn't exist as a profession in their country. So this is something that we are doing with different universities around Europe to put this really in the formal education system, that being a volunteer manager is a serious and important profession, which done well, done in a quality way, will also lead to quality volunteering. We also have another project, and this will be my final kind of wrap-up question to the speakers, because I don't see other questions in the chat unless I miss something. But we also have a project called VCalc, which is going to help volunteer managers to measure the impact of their volunteers. And I just wondered how, in your organizations, in your experiences, you help volunteers to understand their impact, because sometimes it's assumed that a volunteer knows how important they are, but oftentimes we as organizational leaders have to help volunteers understand what their impact is. And of course, usually if they understand their impact and their impact is positive, that also leads to higher motivation and higher engagement. So if there's something that you want to say around that, how you help and measure the impact of your volunteers, and how you help volunteers understand better that when they leave their session, when they leave their volunteering experience, or some weeks later, that they really understand that they have made an impact. So we will take a final round, and then I will be handing over then, Nina, to you for the closing. Anybody want to say something on impact? Is there something structured in Diaconie, Mirko, for volunteers to understand what's the impact? Is this something that you think is important, or you just let everything free flow?
Well, that's a good question, tricky question. So I was hesitating to say something, and I would actually let Liv speak first. She raised her hand. No, but to answer that, really, this is very interesting. Because we do not measure the impact of the volunteers in a clear format. It's very interesting. I would like to be part of this project, because I try to. I mean, they are. Either the organization is mainly run by volunteers, then the impact is quite clear, because they run the organization even within the Diaconie structure, or they are part of the work plan for employees, staff, and volunteers, where they also see what they do, I would have imagined. But I look forward to being convinced of the importance to flag out the impact for volunteers separately and methods how to do that. And yeah, I would like to participate.
There's an online platform link coming to your inbox very soon.
Very good.
And everyone else. Lieve, you wanted to add something on that?
Yes, I just wanted to say that as part of our quality system, we have an impact measurement on all kinds of activities and strategies that we do. And we have some questionnaires about that for employees, but also for our volunteers. So in that way, we take them, but it's not especially on their voluntary work. It is rather on the strategic work for the whole organization. So they are just part as anybody else, stakeholders, users. So everybody is involved there as well. And I just wanted to give an example, as you said also, Gabriela, about these European projects. We are running an Erasmus project now, which is about access to leisure, and where end users and employees, but also volunteers are involved. And I had to think about what Nora said, that she had the opportunity to travel and to meet some things and to learn some things. This is also a way to say thank you and to reward your volunteers if you can make them participate in such a program. Although when they have to go for a training to a foreign country, they have to take a week off, of course, at their job to do so. So it's always like both sides, giving and taking. Yes, but they like it very much. Yes.
Absolutely. Thanos and Nora, any final comments, reactions from you?
The only thing that I would like to actually add here is that I'm interested also in this project as well, together with Mirko. What I would like to add, at least in our case, is that many of our volunteers that now are employed somewhere else, they are still coming to see us. So I suppose that friendship as well is a huge factor, and in a volunteering, I don't know, life probably. So let's keep that in mind as well.
Definitely. And Nora?
Yes, I think jump to what Thanos said, that making friendship, doing the volunteer activities, and as Lieve said, that having many experience like traveling somewhere, it's again the topic of the motivation of the volunteers. But yes, it's really, I agree, it's really interesting topic, that how we can measure on a structural way the impacts of the volunteering, or if it's like a really natural way that when someone attending in a volunteer activities, it has a direct, how I can say, feeling and impression in that moment when they are doing these activities. But yes, I would be interested in these results of the project as well.
Great, Nora. And just before Nina, then we hand over to you, I think, for the closing, unless you have other things to add. But there's a comment also from Fabrizio in the chat about belonging and involvement being two keywords for volunteers to be satisfied with what they're doing, and that they're another value and not a replacement. So I think that's also a wonderful wrap up. So thank you, Fabrizio, for that. So Nina, thank you once again to you and the team for the collaboration. We've had some really enriching presentations, discussions, reflections, which definitely will help us at CEV in the coming weeks and months to reflect more on these issues, and hopefully for you at EASPD. And I really hope that this is the first of many collaborations that we can do online, and also maybe potentially in person in the future. So Nina, over to you.
Thank you, Gabriela. So I'm going to be very brief because we are approaching the end of this event. So I just would like to thank all the speakers for the very interesting presentation. It was very enriching to hear the point of view of the different actors in volunteering, volunteers, service providers, e-organizations, and of course, the audience as well. So yeah, with this Knowledge Cafe, we really wanted to learn more about the importance of volunteering, the link with civic engagement, the added value it can have and creates for volunteers and service providers. And it was also very interesting to discuss how to support and improve volunteering in many ways. So on that final note, I would like to thank you all for taking part in this event. And you can watch the event again and consult the PowerPoint afterwards on our webpage. And I would like also to invite you to follow us and as well as CEV on social network. And you can also check out our website if you want to stay tuned with our future events. And yeah, so thank you all. Thank you, CEV, for this very fruitful partnership. And we hope to see you soon for our next Knowledge Café. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.